Brooke had stood amid the soft lamplight of the Forrester Creations executive suite more times than she could count, but never had the pristine glass walls felt quite so suffocating. Never had the portfolio in her trembling hands seemed so painfully irrelevant. Moments earlier Ridge, her destiny, her on-again, off-again soulmate through weddings, annulments, scandals, and triumphs had confirmed what her anxious heart had already suspected. Whatever spark once found them had guttered out, and the man she loved now reserved his devotion for Taylor Hayes. The words landed like shrapnel. Ridge's gentle timbre, meant perhaps to cushion the blow, only sharpened the humiliation. It stung that he spoke of loyalty, of fresh gratitude for Taylor's patience, of futures that no longer included the Logan name woven into his own. Eric Forrester had tried to reassure Brooke in recent weeks, muttering about how Ridge always found his way back, how Brooke was the great love of his son's life, but the patriarch's assurances crumbled in the face of Ridge's quiet finality. Brooke felt the energy drain from her limbs as she watched Ridge stride down the corridor, pocketing a small velvet box, surely the ring intended for Taylor, before the elevator swallowed him. Alone, Brooke pressed her palms against the boardroom table where so many of her lingerie campaigns were born and realized she could not escape the echo of Ridge's departure each time the doors slid shut. Every corner of the building was haunted. The showroom where he once spun her in a celebratory whirl after a dazzling sales quarter, the photo studio where he'd sneaked behind the backdrop to steal a kiss, even the stairwell where they'd whispered promises they obviously could not keep. To endure daily proximity would be to invite slow-motion heartbreak, and already the ache pressed against her ribs like a vice. Worse, Steffi Forrester, perpetually skeptical of Brooke's intentions, would have fresh ammunition now that her mother stood to reclaim Ridge's heart. Any hallway encounter would bristle with new tension. Each board presentation would feel like a trial before a relentlessly biased jury. Brooke had sacrificed much to protect the Brooks bedroom line. Late-night fittings, cross-country promos, creative clashes with the couture division, and suddenly all that effort shimmered like a tasteless joke. Driving home, she wondered if the time had come to hand in her key card, to relinquish the office suite that bore her name, to reclaim a freedom unbound by memories of a love story that refused to give her the ending she desired. At home in Bel Air the following morning, Brooke stared at her own reflection and struggled to reconcile the confident executive she projected with the woman now nursing fresh humiliation. She brewed coffee she barely tasted, scrolled past headlines about Forrester's upcoming summer launch, and felt as though she watched someone else's life unfold. The phone buzzed. Nick Marone, miraculously back in Los Angeles ahead of a June consultancy stint at an eco-yacht firm, had learned through the grapevine that Brooke was reeling. His gravel-warm voice invited her to lunch on the marina. Brooke almost declined. Dredging the past with Nick felt dangerous, but something in his easy laugh reminded her what it was to be seen without judgment. She said yes. Yet before that reunion could materialize, she found herself in the Forrester Sky Lounge that evening, inadvertently crossing paths with Carter Walton. The chief operating officer was brooding in the low light, swirling neat bourbon while the city glimmered beyond the windows. Hope's polite rejection of Carter's tentative attempt to rekindle their long-ago flirtation had left him isolated, another heart cast aside in the turbulent orbit of Forrester romance. Brooke sat beside him, fully intending a brief offering of sympathy, but shared pain forged swifter intimacy than either expected. Carter confessed that every corridor now reminded him of moments with Hope, her laughter during late-night contract reviews, her gentle way of smoothing the tie knot he always seemed to skew. Brooke in turn revealed the raw details of Ridge's final break, her voice hitching only when she admitted Taylor would likely accept a proposal any day. As the night wore on, they lingered shoulder to shoulder, the conversation meandering from corporate nightmares to half-forgotten childhood comforts, until the first fragile seed of possibility settled. Perhaps solace could be found not in old flames like Nick or Ridge, but in the unexpected warmth of mutual understanding. Over the next week, that connection deepened. Carter invited Brooke to the downtown jazz club, where he sometimes escaped legal briefs for the hush of a saxophone. Brooke, glowing in an ivory slip dress, surprised herself by swaying against him beneath amber lights, laughing without the brittle edge of recent days. They shared a rooftop picnic after a late board session, the hum of Beverly Hills traffic beneath them, as Carter traced constellations he could recall from law school nights spent on campus lawns. In those moments, Brooke's shame lifted. She felt magnetic, unburdened, alive. Inevitably, secrecy followed. Steffi had already sharpened suspicions about Brooke's every move, and Ridge's pending engagement colored office gossip like ink spilled across silk. Brooke and Carter slipped out separate exits, met in out-of-the-way bistros, exchanged texts that left her cheeks flushed. One afternoon, while studying revenue projections in the COO's office, they kissed and did not hear the click of the partially closed door until Hope's startled gasp sliced through the hush. Hope's eyes widened with dizzying hurt. The man who once sought her affection now cradling her mother's waist? Brooke scrambled to explain, shame flooding anew, but words tangled. Hope turned away, racing down the corridor, colliding moments later with Ridge emerging from Taylor's suite. Ridge followed the commotion to Carter's doorway, just in time to glimpse Brooke's hand still resting on Carter's chest. The sight cracked a dormant jealousy he did not anticipate. Shock flashed across his face, quickly shuttered beneath stoic composure, but not before Brooke saw it and felt an old ember flicker. That night she lay awake questioning everything. Was she rebounding? Hurting her daughter? Weaponizing affection against Ridge? Carter sensed her turmoil, yet instead of retreat he suggested a bold escape. Leave Los Angeles with him for Milan, where Spencer Publications' European Council needed a temporary advisor and Brooke could consult for an Italian lingerie startup keen to license Brooke's bedroom. A clean slate, free from Steffi's barbs, Ridge's shadow, Hope's wounded eyes. Brooke's pulse raced at the prospect. They booked tickets under aliases, planning a red-eyed departure after month-end close, vowing to tell no one until wheels lifted off the tarmac. But destiny, in classic Forrester fashion, refused to permit quiet exits. Quinn Fuller, Carter's once fiery lover, resurfaced in Paris on a jewelry collaboration with international couture houses. A chance video call between Quinn and Eric discussing distribution for the new HFDF accessories line meant Quinn glimpsed Carter in the background of Brooke's office, saw the softness in his gaze, and recognized longing that once belonged to her. She sent an impulsive invitation. "Meet me in Paris. Let's talk closure, maybe new beginnings." Carter read the message alone, and old memories flooded. The nights of stolen passion when the world blurred at the edges, the daring thrill that Quinn understood his quiet intensity in ways few ever had. Conflicted, Carter boarded Brooke's flight, but could not quell the tug westward across Europe's map lines. Halfway over the Atlantic, turbulence rattled more than fuselage. Carter confessed the message, the unresolved feelings. Brooke listened and felt the floor vanish again, betrayal echoing through fresh wounds not yet healed. Tears pricked, but pride straightened her spine. She urged him to disembark during the Rome layover, to seek whatever closure he required, promising she would not stand between him and peace. Carter kissed her forehead in gratitude, stepped onto the connecting jetway bound for Charles de Gaulle, and Brooke, heart-roaring, continued alone to Milan. Months later, Fashion Week buzz filled every cafe along Via Monte Napoleone, and Brooke hair swept in a crisp chignon, emerald silk blouse rippling in Mediterranean breeze presented concepts to investors who marveled at her acumen. Yet in quiet hotel rooms dusk brought echoing loneliness. Nick Marone, ever attentive, video-called nightly and eventually flew in, sweeping her onto his yacht under the Tuscan stars, telling her she deserved someone who cherished every breath she took. Their laughter spilled across the deck, and for a time Brooke believed the universe might reward her resilience with a second-chance romance free from triangles and rival factions. Then news arrived by courier. Carter and Quinn, reconciled, were to head Spencer International's Paris legal and design divisions respectively. Brooke read the letter twice. She felt neither anger nor envy, only a melancholy acceptance that some loves are meant to be transitory bridges towards self-rediscovery. One hazy dawn she walked the cobblestones of the Duomo Plaza and acknowledged a profound truth. Running from Los Angeles had never truly been about Carter, Rich, or even Steffi. It had been about her own fear of facing the city that held the full span of her triumphs and mistakes. When Brooke finally returned to California, autumn sunlight slanted across the Forrester courtyard, much as it always had, yet she walked taller. She delivered her resignation to an astonished Ridge and an equally stunned Steffi, citing new ventures that would keep her globetrotting, but always tethered to the legacy she helped build. Ridge began to speak of missed chances, but she silenced him with a gracious smile. She wished him and Taylor every joy, insisted no regrets lingered, and thanked him for loving her once with a fire that changed both their lives. She hugged Hope, who had slowly come to forgive, and promised to visit during Beth's school holidays. Later, as Brooke loaded the last suitcase into a waiting car bound for LAX, Nick leaning against the trunk, grinning at the adventures ahead, she cast a final glance at the glittering Forrester logo atop the tower. It no longer felt like a monument to heartbreak. It was simply a chapter radiant, turbulent, unforgettable, and now complete. She inhaled, savored the bright California air, and whispered a vow to cherish herself first, to welcome love where it found her, but never again let it define her. Then she stepped into the car, sunlight kissing the rim of her sunglasses, and allowed the driver to merge into the endless possibilities of the open road.